Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking you somewhere truly significant, spiritually speaking, Haridwar.
Devbhoomi, the land of gods.
Exactly. Where the Ganges hits the plains, at Harki Pauri. Millions go there seeking, well, solace, peace.
A hugely important place.
But just today, June 26, 2025, something pretty remarkable, maybe even a bit scandalous, has unfolded at one of its most revered temples, the Chandi Devi Temple.
Yeah.
We're going deep into this story. It touches on faith, money, human drama, everything. We want to show you exactly what went down and, importantly, why it matters.
It's a fascinating situation. Our goal today really is to unpack all the layers here. We'll look at the key events, the people involved, and this pretty significant court intervention.
Right, the High Court stepping in.
Exactly. And its effects are being felt, way beyond just Haridwar. It really shows how these sacred spaces can sometimes become stages for some very human, very complex conflicts.
Okay, so let's unpack this. You have this ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Chandi, drawing devotees for, well, generations, a place of tradition.
Deep tradition.
And yet inside these walls, this human drama started playing out, leading to this high court ruling literally today. What started quietly is now very public.
Definitely.
So who are the main players here? We've got Rohit Giri, who was the Mahant, the head priest figure.
Right.
Then there's his wife, and also a woman named Reena Bisht. It seems the trouble really kicked off back in August 2021.
That's when the first official complaint came in.
Yeah, from Giri's wife. She alleged illicit activities involving Bisht, who apparently first showed up just as an acquaintance.
It's interesting how fast personal stuff like this can get tangled up with the institution itself, isn't it? The lines get blurred really quickly.
Very quickly.
And early on, there was this financial element, too. A fixed deposit surfaced about 5.5 lakh rupees in Bisht's name.
Which immediately made people think, temple money.
Exactly. That was the first suspicion, misappropriated offerings. But then it was clarified, apparently, that the money actually came from the complainant's brother's school fees and some bank withdrawals.
So not temple funds initially.
According to that clarification, no. But it shows right from the start how messy things were, how complicated the situation was becoming, not straightforward at all.
Things then took a really, really dramatic turn. This is where it gets quite personal. Rohit Giri, the Mahant, actually confessed. He said he was being blackmailed.
Blackmailed? By whom?
By Bisht. He claimed she had videos of them involved physically.
Wow, okay. That's a huge revelation for a religious leader.
Absolutely huge. And this confession wasn't just kept private. It led directly to his arrest on May 14th, 2025. The Punjab police arrested him on molestation charges.
So it escalated from an internal dispute and blackmail claims to actual criminal charges and an arrest.
Yes, precisely. It blew up from a local issue into something much bigger, drawing a lot more attention.
And that arrest then raises this really fundamental question, doesn't it? When a religious leader faces such a serious personal scandal, how does that possibly not affect the temple they lead, its sanctity, its governance?
The trust people place in it.
Exactly, the trust. And the narrative that followed Giri's arrest suggests some people tried to, well, exploit the situation.
How so?
Well, Bisht and her associates are accused of putting pressure on Giri's wife, the one who made the first complaint, remember?
Yeah.
Pressuring her to resign as a lifelong temple trustee and even to divorce Giri. The allegation is that this was all part of a plan, a conspiracy to basically take control, maybe embezzle temple property.
So, using his personal downfall as leverage to gain institutional control.
That's what's being alleged. It paints a picture of a calculated move, turning a personal crisis into a power grab. Pretty cynical stuff, if true.
Okay, so you have these intense personal dramas, financial questions, blackmail claims, and arrest. What did the courts make of all this?
Well, the Uttarakhand High Court had to step in. Justice Rakesh Vaplial specifically. And today, June 26th, they acted very decisively.
What was the ruling?
Two key things. First, they granted anticipatory bail to Reena Bisht. That's a significant legal step, offering her protection from arrest for now.
Okay, and the second thing?
This was the big one. The court barred all the main parties involved, Giri, his wife, and Bisht, from setting foot on the temple premises.
Banned them completely.
Completely banned. A clear judicial order to physically remove the core figures of the conflict from the sacred site itself, trying to clear the air, essentially.
That's a strong move.
Very strong. And Justice Thapaliel didn't mince words. The court expressed, let's say, profound displeasure at what had been going on in such a revered place.
So, comments beyond just the ruling.
Oh, yes. There were pointed criticisms aimed at Mahants getting involved in live-in relationships or facing criminal cases. It wasn't just about this specific temple. It touched on broader concerns about, well, hypocrisy and credibility issues within religious leadership.
A signal to others, perhaps.
You could certainly read it that way. The immediate goal, though, was clearly stabilization. Restore order. Try to bring back some sense of sanctity that had obviously been damaged by all this public turmoil.
So with Giri, his wife, and Bisht all barred from the temple, who's running the show now, there's a big management gap.
Right, and the High Court had an answer for that, too. They decided to hand over temporary management, the stewardship, to the Badrinath Kedarnath Temple Committee, the BKTC.
BKTC. Okay, who are they? Why them? Are they equipped for this kind of situation?
They are arguably uniquely equipped. The BKTC is a very established body set up under an act way back in 1939. They have decades of experience.
Managing what kind of places?
Some of the biggest, most important pilgrimage sites in India. Badrinath and Kedarnath, key parts of the Chardam pilgrimage. These are massive operations.
Okay, so they know how to manage large, complex religious sites.
Absolutely. And it's not just those two main temples. They manage something like 45 other smaller temples, plus around 20 dharamshalas, or rest houses, along the pilgrimage routes. They even run educational institutions, Sanskrit schools, an Ayurvedic pharmacy school. They support students. Their administrative experience is vast.
So the court likely saw them as a stable, experienced hand to take the reins temporarily.
Precisely. Someone capable of stabilizing operations, handling finances properly, and restoring public confidence during this interim period. It makes sense from a logistical standpoint.
But does bringing in a state-constituted body like BKTC raise other questions about, say, government involvement in religious affairs?
Oh, absolutely. It inevitably does. This decision, while practical, definitely feeds into that larger, ongoing debate in India about where the line is between religious autonomy and state oversight of temple management. It's a sensitive issue.
It really is striking, isn't it? A place meant for, seeking peace, spiritual connection.
Elevation, transcendence.
Right. And it becomes the center of this saga. Blackmail, money disputes, power struggles. It makes you wonder, what does the divine make of all our human messes?
Does it laugh or cry, indeed? But yeah, beneath the drama, there's a very serious point here, and it's not just about Chandi Devi.
You think this reflects wider problems?
I do. Unfortunately, this isn't entirely unique. Sacred spaces across India sometimes do become arenas for these kinds of struggles. Power, finance, personal conflicts getting in the way of the actual spiritual purpose.
And the BKTC takeover, while maybe necessary for stability here,
it reignites that debate we just mentioned. How much should the government be involved? Where's the balance between ensuring accountability, especially with public donations and temple properties involved, and respecting religious freedom and tradition?
There are strong arguments on both sides.
Definitely. We heard from one devotee, someone who's been visiting the temple for decades. They said, and you can feel the pain, it's heartbreaking to see scandals overshadow peace.
That captures it well.
And a legal expert we spoke to basically said, look, the court intervention was probably necessary given the circumstances, but it just highlights this ongoing need for clearer rules, better oversight for these institutions.
It's a tough balance to strike. How do you maintain integrity without overstepping?
Exactly. It's a systemic challenge.
It really underscores how much trust is involved, doesn't it? When that trust in the people running these institutions gets damaged, it affects everyone who looks to them for guidance.
The whole community feels it.
Yeah. So wrapping this up, what happened today, June 26th, with the High Court's decision regarding the Chandi Devi Temple? It's more than just a local news story.
Much more. It's really a snapshot, a very vivid one, of the challenges these religious institutions face. The struggle to maintain integrity when faced with very human failings, personal conflicts, financial temptations.
That collision between the sacred mission and, well, messy human reality.
Precisely. And the lessons learned here, or at least the questions raised, they won't stay just in Haridwar. They'll influence how people think about governing sacred spaces across India.
It forces us all to ask, in a world where people are genuinely searching for spiritual meaning, for some kind of moral anchor.
A world craving solace, yes.
How do we make sure the guardians of these sacred places are, well, truly worthy of that trust? How do we ensure they can fulfill their spiritual role without personal dramas getting in the way?
That is the fundamental question, isn't it? How do we protect the sacred purpose?
That's our deep dive for today. A complex story with a lot to think about. What stands out most to you listening to this? Something to ponder until next time.